CNC routers are precision machines, and we usually use them to cut welcome signs and signs that say live, love, laugh. For this video, I'm going to show you how I designed something a little bit different. I designed a knife sharpener. This is revision 2, which really means that revision 1 was a huge failure. I'll show you some decisions I had to make so that it could be made out of plywood and work just as well as a metal one. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see the final product. I didn't start with a finished machine in mind. I started with constraints. I knew that I needed a drive roller, tracking roller, and 2 accessory rollers so that the knife could sit in between them and I can get a perfect bevel. I knew that my belt would be 42 inches long. That's it. So that's where I started. And I literally just traced the belt profile around these 4 points. The beauty of doing it this way is that the CAD becomes your calculator, and if I move the roller, the belt length will update. Then I could tweak the dimensions so that the belt would be exactly 42 inches around all the pulleys. This sketch is basically the building block of the entire design. If this is wrong, the whole machine's going to be wrong because I'm going to either have a belt that doesn't fit or a belt that's way too floppy, and nobody wants a floppy belt. Once I was happy with the belt path, it was time to start wrapping a body around the design. Professional belt grinders are typically made with steel and are open-faced. I'm using plywood. There's no way that the plywood would have the strength to be able to stop the pulleys from bending downwards. So to make this wood act like metal, I designed it with 2 sides and what I'm going to call a rib cage. This structure locks the frame together so that the rollers can't flex inward. They're pushing into the body on both sides, which keeps it really stiff and should keep the rollers nice and stable. In revision 1, the main body was stiff enough, but the tracking arm was completely floppy. The belt tension was just turned into a wet noodle basically and just flopping all over the place. For Rev 2, I added a central support between the traction roller arms so that it would be stiff through both sides, just like the body. It makes the tracking assembly stiff enough, and it also leaves enough room so that I can loosen the belt and tighten the belt, making it easy to take it on and off. I designed the grooves that the ribs fit into by using my copy pasta dog bone technique, which it's simply you draw a circle, you draw a couple reference lines, and then you highlight it and copy and paste it throughout all the corners. This makes it really, really easy to do a lot of dog bones pretty quickly without having to pay for any extra tools. The frame was done, but I still needed some rollers to actually, fit into the frame. Each roller is a 3-layer sandwich. The outer layer has carved pockets for the bearings, a through hole for the shaft, and alignment pins to keep everything concentric within each other. Now, I'm not crazy. I wasn't going to make my own bearings or bolts. Instead, I stole them from McMaster-Carr. I downloaded the exact hardware I needed, and I assembled the whole thing digitally to make sure it worked, in real life. The one thing I did have to modify was I didn't want to spend a lot of money on undersized washers, but I needed a small washer so the bearing could spin freely. Now, there were a lot of flaws with the revision 1, but the biggest one, I tried to drive the sander belt directly from the motor, and this was almost impossible to get in line correctly. So for Rev 2, I did the thing I was actually supposed to do in the first place, and I went with a belt-driven system. This makes the motor alignment almost irrelevant, but it creates a new problem: space. There isn't much room inside the frame for a bulky drive hub, so I had to get tricky. I designed a hollow-out pocket inside the driver roller itself. That way, I could bury the flange and then sandwich it inside the roller. The drive system is locked directly into the chassis of the tool. It's compact, aligned, and most importantly, it should work. So the basics of the design are pretty much done at this point, and my brain was fried. I really wanted a sophisticated angle guide that made sure the knife always was perfectly guided. There was enough room for my hands, as well as the part where the blade meets the handle. So I spent an hour designing what I thought was the perfect guide. It was elegant, it was strong, it was precise, and it was physically impossible. I had designed it to sit exactly where the belt was going to go. After a quick facepalm, I had to go back to the drawing board. The new part actually fits around the belt and should be stiff enough, but it's probably a little bit too complex for the CNC to make, so I'm gonna have to print it on the 3D printer. Not everything is a job for the CNC. But now that I was happy with pretty much the entire design, it was time to bring it from the modeling area of Autodesk Fusion and into the manufacturing side of things. And from here, I manually nested everything. But I'm not gonna go into all the nitty-gritty detail here. If you're interested in seeing that video, I already did it for my Rev 1, so I'm not gonna cover it again here. But if you are curious, make sure you subscribe to my channel and take a look at that video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you stick around and find out how this knife sharpener turns out in real life.